Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk.
You know, we've done some really cool deep dives before into things like Studio Ghibli.
The Simpsons?
The Simpsons, exactly.
Classics.
Those were a ton of fun. But today we are tackling something that's equally huge.
Yeah.
Just maybe not so much here in the U.S., and that is...
Doraemon.
Doraemon.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I know...
The robot cat.
The robot cat from the future, right?
Yep.
I know that some of you listening, especially if you're here in the States, might not have like the same reaction to that name as you would to like Totoro or Bart Simpson or something like that.
For sure. But if you've ever spent any time in Asia, like Japan or Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, Korea, even Doraemon is like
cute,
an absolute icon.
Yeah.
It's like Mickey Mouse level of fame.
So for anyone who maybe hasn't been exposed to Doraemon before, basically he is this blue robot cat from the 22nd century, and he's got this amazing 4D pocket.
It's like Mary Poppins' bag.
But filled with gadgets.
Yes, exactly. He's got all these crazy gadgets, and his whole thing is he's come back in time to help out this...
this kid Nobita.
This kid Nobita, who's kind of perpetually unlucky.
Yes, constantly getting into trouble.
Yes, and along with his friends... Shizuka.
John and Sunao,
right?
The whole gang.
So,
and the manga actually started back in 1969.
Wow.
So it's been around.
That's a long time.
Very a long time.
And what I think is really interesting is how it blends these sci-fi elements.
Yes.
With these everyday childhood themes.
It's so relatable.
Yeah.
Everyone goes through that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to dive deep into why Doraemon.
Why isn't it huge in America?
Why isn't it huge in America?
Right. It's a global phenomenon.
Yeah, it's this global phenomenon.
Why not here?
So we've got a bunch of stuff to get through today. We're going to look at why it hasn't really taken off here.
Right.
How it's been presented to American audiences. It's just those really interesting cultural differences.
So, okay. So first and foremost, why?
Yeah, why has it...
Why the limited exposure here in the States?
So the first thing is that unlike in Asia, where it's been around for decades, like consistently, Doraemon didn't really get any kind of major U.S. television exposure until 2014.
Wow.
Which is
pretty recent.
Yeah, pretty recent.
And what was that on? Was that the Disney XD thing?
Yes, it was on Disney XD.
Okay.
And... it was the 2005 anime series that they dubbed into English.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this Disney XD experiment, because I know there were some pretty big changes that happened.
Right. They made a lot of changes for the American audience.
And some of them were pretty controversial.
Yeah, definitely. So like even just starting with the character names.
Oh, yeah.
They changed.
That was a big one.
They changed a lot of them. So Nobita became Nobi. Shizuka became Sue.
Okay.
Giant the Bully became Big G.
Big G.
Okay. And Sunio, the kind of sneaky rich kid, became Sneech.
Sneech. Wow, they changed all the names.
They really did.
I wonder why they felt that was so necessary.
I guess they were thinking the kids wouldn't connect with Japanese names.
Yeah, maybe.
But it kind of raises the question now, looking back, that a lot of other anime have retained those original names and been very successful. So was it really necessary, or was it actually detrimental?
Yeah. Did it rob the show of some of its authenticity, maybe?
Potentially.
Yeah. Okay, so the names.
But the names weren't even the only thing.
Oh, right. What else did they change?
They actually changed some cultural elements, too.
Oh, really?
So like the Japanese bento boxes that the kids would eat lunch from, they became sandwiches.
Oh, wow.
They even swapped out chopsticks for forks in some scenes.
Oh, my goodness.
And then any kind of background that had like specific Japanese holidays.
Right.
Like Tanabata.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
They just removed those completely.
Wow. So they really went out of their way to kind of
scrub away any sort of like specifically Japanese.
They really did.
Elements.
It's like they didn't trust that American kids could handle it.
Yeah.
Or that it would be appealing.
Yeah, right. And even beyond that,
And then on top of that...
they made some adjustments to the content itself.
Yeah, like there were a lot of scenes that they deemed too violent.
Oh, yeah.
For American audiences.
Right.
Like the classic giant bullying Nobita scenes.
Right, right. Which happens
all the time.
Pretty frequently.
All the time.
In the original. And it's kind of a...
yeah, it's part of their dynamic.
Yeah, part of their dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So they toned those down or just cut them completely?
Yeah, because of U.S. children's programming standards.
Right, which are stricter.
And much stricter, yeah.
Yeah, so how long did this localized version even run on Disney XD?
It was a pretty short run, actually.
Right?
Only 26 episodes. Which is only 52 stories, because each episode has 2 stories.
And Disney XD's main audience is like...
Yeah, 6 to 14-year-olds. 6 to 14, right?
Yeah, so it didn't really reach like a wider audience.
Yeah.
And, you know, older anime fans.
Right.
People who might know it from their childhoods.
Yeah.
They grew up in Asia.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that kind of explains a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Why it never really took off here.
It was just so limited.
So limited.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of the other challenges that Doraemon has faced in trying to break into the American market?
Well, you can't ignore the fact that Doraemon is really rooted in Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Specifically the Showa era.
Right. Which
was this period of rapid economic growth after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And so things like Nobita's family life.
Yeah.
The Japanese school system, even just the neighborhood dynamics.
Right.
They might seem really foreign to U.S. viewers.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
It's just a different cultural context.
Now, what kind of themes do you think tend to resonate more with U.S. audiences?
I think in animation, we really like superheroes.
Okay.
You know, big fantasy adventures, like Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Even SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
You know, they have like a clear hero.
Right.
Or a big quest.
Right.
Doraemon is much more slice of life.
Okay.
Like everyday problems.
Right. It's more grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though he has the gadgets.
Yeah. It's more about like personal struggles and relationships and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And of course, there's the competition.
Oh, yeah. The competition is intense.
Right.
Like the U.S. animation market is super saturated.
Yeah.
You've got like Disney DreamWorks,
Cartoon Network,
all these huge studios churning out content with massive marketing budgets.
Yeah, and you mentioned Pokemon and Dragon Ball earlier, and those have really taken off here.
They have, and they're both action-adventure.
Right, so Doraemon is really trying to like...
Yeah, carve out a space
in this like very crowded room.
It's tough.
Yeah, and then on top of that...
On top of all that.
you have censorship issues.
Right. Censorship is a big one.
Yeah, because there's stuff that just...
Flies in Japan.
That would never fly.
Never fly here.
Yeah.
Here in the U.S.
Yeah, and a classic example is, you know, the whole Nobita accidentally peeking at Shizuka.
Oh, yeah.
While she's bathing.
Right.
That's like a recurring gag in the original.
Right.
But you can't really...
Not appropriate.
Not appropriate for kids' TV here.
No, not at all.
So they had to either cut those scenes...
Right.
Or really heavily modify them.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff, even if it seems like a small change...
It can really change the feel.
It can really change the feel of the show.
Yeah, and sometimes the humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Is based on those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of times that humor is one of the things that...
Doesn't always translate well. Yeah, across cultures.
Yeah. So you've got the limited exposure.
Right.
You've got these cultural mismatches. You've got the intense competition.
Yep.
Censorship. So it seems like Doraemon has faced an uphill battle from the very beginning.
Yeah, it definitely has.
But
it's not completely unknown in the U.S.
It's not completely unknown, right? There are...
Pockets of recognition.
Yeah. So who in the U.S. actually knows about Doraemon?
So the most obvious one is anime fans.
Okay.
If you're a hardcore anime fan, you're probably aware of Doraemon.
Yeah.
You might not have seen a ton of it.
Right.
But you've heard of it.
Yeah, especially with all the resources available online now.
Exactly.
Like fan subs and all these communities.
The online anime community is huge.
Yeah.
They're always on top of.
Yeah, they're the ones who find all the cool new stuff.
Yeah.
So who else besides anime fans?
So another big one is Asian Americans.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people who grew up in Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong.
Right.
They grew up with Doraemon.
So when they immigrate to the U.S., they bring that with them.
Yeah, it's a piece of their...
It's nostalgic.
Yeah, nostalgic connection to their home.
Yeah.
And what about the kids who grew up after that Disney XD thing?
Yeah, so some kids...
Did they have any awareness?
Who were in that 6 to 14 range back then might have seen it on Disney XD.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was so limited.
Right.
And there wasn't really any follow-ups.
Yeah, so it probably just faded.
Yeah.
Into the background noise. So it's more of a niche awareness than like widespread.
Not mainstream.
Mainstream like Pokemon or Hello Kitty.
Yeah, everybody knows Pikachu.
Yeah.
Hello Kitty.
But not Doraemon.
Not so much Doraemon.
Yeah.
And if they have, it's just like they saw a meme.
Yeah, they've seen a meme.
Or something.
Yeah.
They don't really know the characters or the storylines.
Gadgets.
Yeah, the gadgets.
Which are such a big part.
A huge part, yeah.
Of Doraemon.
Yeah, it's so different from, Mickey Mouse or Marvel superheroes or...
The Simpsons.
The Simpsons, who everybody knows.
But, I'm sure the internet has played some role in at least spreading awareness a little bit.
Oh, definitely.
Right, because...
The internet is huge for that.
Yeah.
Especially now that the Doraemon movies are on Netflix and Amazon Prime Video.
Right.
People are getting exposed to it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like, they're browsing.
Yeah.
And they happen to see it.
And then there's social media.
Oh, yeah.
TikTok.
YouTube
Shorts.
All
scary stuff.
Memes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's slowly...
It's trickling in.
Yeah. So for those Americans who have seen Doraemon, what are their reactions?
Generally, they're pretty positive.
Okay.
They usually say it's cute and fun.
Okay, cute and fun.
And they like the gadgets, like the Anywhere door.
The Anywhere door is amazing.
The Take Copter. Yeah.
All those crazy inventions.
Yeah, and it's those gadgets that really set it apart.
Yeah, they're so creative.
Yeah.
And imaginative.
And some parents have said that the stories are actually heartwarming.
Yeah, they are. Kind of wholesome.
Wholesome and educational.
Yeah.
Right, but there are still those cultural differences.
Yeah.
That we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Do those come up at all?
Yeah, so some people say it's a little too Japanese for them.
Okay.
Specifically, Nobita's character.
Okay.
He can seem kind of cowardly.
Right.
And he gets bullied a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the U.S., we really value, heroism and confidence.
Independence, yeah.
Independence, especially in our children's media.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing a character who's constantly relying on someone else to solve their problems might not resonate.
It's a different message.
Yeah. What about the humor? Does that translate well?
The humor can be hit or miss.
Okay.
A lot of it is physical comedy.
Right.
Slapstick. Yeah. Misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And that can translate.
Yeah.
But there are some nuances
right.
to Japanese comedy that might not land for everyone here.
Right. Like cultural references.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Things that
have to kind of be in on it.
Yeah, you have to be in on the joke.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you look at other Japanese anime that have been really successful here.
Yeah.
Like Dragon Ball Z.
Naruto. Yeah.
And those are much more action-packed.
Yeah.
Fast-paced.
High energy.
Yeah. Right.
And they have more dynamic visuals.
Yeah. Doraemon is more...
Doraemon is much more laid back.
Laid back, simpler.
Yeah, simpler.
Right.
More focused on those everyday moments.
It's like the difference between an action movie and a slice of life film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One is just going to grab you more immediately.
Visually.
Yeah.
So do we have any concrete examples or data that really show Doraemon's...
Yeah, we do, actually.
Has a little bit of impact here.
So that Disney XD premieres in 2014.
Yeah. It only got about 500,000 viewers.
Okay.
Which was kind of middling for Disney XD at the time.
Right.
And, of course, as we talked about, there wasn't really any...
Yeah, no follow-up. They didn't capitalize on it.
And so viewership declined.
Yeah, it just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah. What about merchandise?
Merchandise is a good indicator.
Right.
Because if something's popular...
Right.
People want to buy the toys.
They want the toys?
Yeah, the T-shirts.
And all that stuff.
But Doraemon merchandise is mostly found in Asian communities.
Okay.
Like Chinatowns or Japanese stores.
Okay.
You don't really see it in mainstream stores.
Right. It's not like...
It's not next to Pokemon.
Yeah, it's not next to Pokemon.
Or Star Wars.
Yeah. Right.
It's just not there.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that even in academia, Doraemon has been a subject of study.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
There have been scholars who've looked at it in terms of Japanese culture.
Right.
And globalization of anime and manga.
And so there was this one paper.
Yeah.
I think it was from UC Berkeley.
In 2016.
In 2016.
And they actually criticized the heavy localization.
Oh, really?
For the Disney XD version.
Interesting.
Because they said that it might have actually hurt its chances by taking away those unique Japanese elements that make it so appealing.
So by trying to make it more American, they actually kind of...
robbed it of its charm. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a good point.
And what about fans? Are there hardcore Doraemon fans?
Oh, yeah. There are.
In the U.S.?
You'll see Doraemon cosplay.
Okay.
At anime conventions.
Right.
Maybe not as much as other characters.
Yeah, right.
But it's there.
It's there, yeah.
And there are definitely online communities dedicated to Doraemon.
So the passion is there.
Yeah, the passion is there.
It's just on a smaller scale.
It's a smaller group, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap then, why do you think Doraemon hasn't become this huge mainstream hit here in the United States?
I think it's a few things.
Okay.
The timing wasn't great.
Okay.
It came in when action-adventure anime was already huge.
Right.
And Doraemon is much more slice of life.
Gentle.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the cultural differences, trying to adapt the humor.
Yeah.
The stories.
The way Nobita is perceived.
Exactly. Right.
That was tough.
It's a tough one. And then, of course, just the competition.
Oh, yeah. The competition is fierce.
Yeah.
And without a really strong promotional strategy.
Doraemon just couldn't keep up.
Yeah. It just couldn't break through.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tough.
Well, this has been really fascinating.
Yeah, it has.
But, speaking of fascinating things.
Yes.
We wanted to take a moment to shout out
a
friend of the show.
A good friend.
Who's doing some really cool stuff online.
Yes. Our friend, Micky.
Micky.
And his YouTube channel.
Mickeytolife.
Mickeytolife. Everyone go check it out.
So he's got these amazing travel vlogs.
Yeah, he goes to some amazing places.
Insane.
Incredible.
And for those of you who like a good drink,
yes,
he does these whiskey and other alcohol
unboxings and reviews.
Unboxings and reviews. He really knows his stuff.
He does. He's very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And passionate about it.
And if you're into music,
yes,
he also shares his original music.
Yeah, he's really talented.
On the channel. Yeah. I was listening to one of his tracks the other day.
Oh, yeah.
It was like this really cool, chill.
Kind of lo-fi vibe.
Lo-fi vibe. It was awesome.
Perfect for studying.
Or, researching Doraemon.
Exactly.
So, yeah, go check out Mickeytolife.
M-I-C-K-Y to life.
On YouTube, you won't regret it.
Support your creative friends.
Support your creative friends. Okay, so back to Doraemon.
Back to Doraemon.
Bringing it all together, it's clear that Doraemon's recognition here in the U.S. is still pretty limited.
Yeah, it's really just those specific groups.
Yeah.
Anime fans, Asian Americans, people who are already familiar with it.
Yeah, and it's not because the show itself is bad or anything like that. It's really just...
It's those factors.
Yeah, the timing.
The timing, the localization, the cultural differences.
Well, the competition.
The competition.
That's a tough market.
It's a tough market to break into.
Yeah.
But, the internet is helping to spread awareness.
Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And, it's worth noting that globally,
Doraemon is huge.
Doraemon is massive.
Yeah.
It's a cultural icon.
It's an icon.
It was even an official...
Anime cultural ambassador for Japan.
Anime cultural ambassador for Japan.
Back in 2008.
That's amazing.
It is. And it was in the Rio Olympics closing ceremony.
Yeah, promoting the Tokyo Olympics.
Yeah. That's huge.
That's huge.
And it all goes back to the creator, Fujiko Fuyo.
Yeah.
His intention was to create a character that would inspire... courage.
Imagination
in children.
Yeah, and even though Nobita is always messing up and relying on Doraemon, there is that element of growth throughout the series.
Yeah, he does learn some lessons.
He does.
Eventually. Yeah. So it really is about those universal themes of friendship and courage and growing up no matter where you are in the world.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into the world of Doraemon.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does make you think about...
It does.
How these cultural products resonate differently in different parts of the world.
Yeah. Why do some things become global phenomena?
Yeah.
And others just...
Yeah, and others don't, even when there are these efforts to make them more palatable to a wider audience.
It's fascinating to think about.
So for all of you listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered Doraemon?
What did you think?
What were your initial impressions, and do you have any other examples of things that are globally popular?
Yeah.
But maybe not so much in your own...
In your neck of the woods.
Neck of the woods.
Yeah.
You can let us know on social media.
We'd love to hear from you.
As always, we love hearing from you guys, so thank you so much for diving deep with us today.
Thanks, everyone.